Well, thanks everyone for joining. Okay, so first I'm going to tell Stacy, thanks for the intro. Stacy and I have been friends for years and years. She was actually my real estate coach, God, Stace, I think like 8+ years ago. And that's when I owned my own brokerage. It was a small boutique brokerage. We have only about 7 of us. But we did a lot of volume. And then all of a sudden she joined EXP and I kind of came with her. But yes, you can stay off camera. Sorry. I don't know if that was just to me or to everyone, but so to tell you a little bit about the actual divorce niche and how I got into it is I went through my own divorce, which kind of started in 2019. The wheels kind of fell off. I actually was in a long-term marriage of 16 years and knew for about 10 years that I actually wanted a divorce. But, as it happens through divorce, it's complicated. There's a lot invested as far as financially and dividing assets. And so it just kind of ended up being a back burner for years and years until I finally decided to go through it. So going through that, I always like to say, you don't know what you don't know. And as I went through it, I thought, especially on the real estate end, I knew exactly what I was doing. And the reality is I didn't create a divorce team for myself. That was number one mistake that I realized in hindsight, looking back. So I didn't actually consult all of the finances. You would think that you would, but to me, dividing was pretty easy in my brain. But what happens in this niche is people are emotionally frazzled and fried. And I will tell you, I was one of them. So even though I wanted the divorce for 10 years, I was frazzled and fried, and it affected everything. And that's the one unfortunate thing about divorce is it affects everything. It affects your family, it affects your friendships, it affects your livelihood. Sometimes it's hard to work and, have a clear head. And for me, owning my own brokerage, it was all too much. So in 2019, I kind of started to really just get super fried. At that point, I had been in the business for, 17, however many years. And I was burnt out. As we do with this business, we kind of go, up and down, but I was incredibly burnt out and I wanted to take a pause, kind of like a pause in life. So I went through the divorce. I told my real estate partner at that time, I did not want to own the brokerage. I wanted to get out of all the operations of the brokerage side. Didn't want to deal with agents, didn't want to deal with that. I really only wanted to deal with my own business. And so from 2020 to about 2021, I ended up just dealing with my own business. I had exited from my brokerage. My partner did not take that conversation very well. So she basically kind of booted me out of the company and we ended up closing it. And I was actually okay with that. But I kind of was just running on steam. So the burnout was happening in 2019, and then I was just kind of fizzling out and running on steam for a couple years. And in those 2 years, I still did quite a bit. I did about 15 million in sales by myself. And so I wasn't doing a large volume because I'm here in San Diego. So that only represented around 10 to 11 deals. And that was enough for me. I could still kind of travel, figure things out. But really, I wanted to exit the business. So in 2022, I did just that. I actually followed Stacy from, at that point, I had my license held at Compass. So I left Compass and joined Stacy at EXP with no idea what I was going to do. I wanted to be out of transactions. Thanks, Stacy. Yes, best decision I ever made now. But I wanted out of transactions. I, again, wanted to take that true pause in life. And I did 0 deals in 2022. So exited completely. And let me tell you, when you actually exit the business and you stop your correspondence to your past clients, I had newsletters that went out. I had touch points that went out. I stopped it all. And then on social media at the same time, I had met my now husband, which is crazy. I never thought that would happen right after a divorce. But I did meet my love of my life and soulmate. And I ended up wanting to just, again, travel and just do a small amount of business. But when you put that on social media and you are just showing your fun life that does not include real estate or any deals, then it dries up very, very quickly. And for all new agents out there, I will tell you that I did not think that that was going to happen. Again, I had been in the business for so long, you just assume that even though people see you doing something else, because I was coaching realtors at that point, I had created some investments for myself. So I was educating on purchasing investment properties. So I had an online course. So I started talking about different things online. And again, when my business dried up, I was kind of shocked by that. So don't ever stop talking about real estate once you get into this business. That's the single biggest tip that I can give you, pro tip. So it completely flatlined in 2022. And at the same point, my mediator at that point, I had this thing in the back of my brain on the divorce niche. And I thought, you know what, if I do want to get back in, if I want to, increase my income again, because obviously it had flatlined. And even though I was fine financially, I still knew that I couldn't operate forever like that. So I thought, okay, what part of the transaction do I like? What actually lights me up? I am an entrepreneur, so I look at things, I'm passion driven. And I thought, let me meet with my mediator. I feel like there's something there. So did not know her outside of the mediation of her helping me through a divorce, but I asked to bring her coffee one day. And I said, you know what, I'm in real estate. I don't even know if you really knew that or clued into that. But I took a pause. I'm kind of getting regenerized again or re-energized again. And so how can I help you? How can we partner? What can I do? I've been in the business for a long time. And she said, you know what, I have an opportunity for you. And it was a network of divorce professionals, and they just so happened to need a realtor for the entire San Diego market. Still, again, had no idea what I was doing. Again, I didn't know if I wanted to get back into transactions, but I decided to go all in. Now, it is a true lead source. You pay into the lead source just as you would Zillow or, any kind of online lead. So I was paying $500 a month. And I thought, gosh, I don't even know if I really want to get back into the business, but I'm going to give this 1 year. So I decided, okay, I'm going to pay this for 1 year, see what happens. I kind of feel like something could happen here. And it did. So in October of 2022, I joined this network of a lead source. We ended up doing free educational webinars every month. I had no idea at that point what I was going to talk about or what I was going to say, just that I had been through divorce and it was hard. And sure, I can now help you sell your home. So that's really all I knew what to do. And I kind of sat back for a little bit. And so until April of 2023 is really when I started to understand the value that me as a realtor, me going through divorce could actually help these people. And I started to look at it as its own business. So I thought, okay, I have this lead source. There's 20 to 40 people coming on this webinar every single month. I am involved in a network where they're marketing it. Yes, I'm paying into that network, but they're marketing it. How can I turn those leads into sales if I'm going to jump back into this business and get into transactions? So my first sale from this divorce niche was in July of 2023. That is essentially 1 year ago. I've now closed $12,300,000 just from this divorce niche. I have pending 1.5, and I have another 8 million in upcoming listings. And I now have created a database of 100 plus people that are in various stages of this business of the divorce process. So within 1 year, I went from flatlining my sales intentionally. I intentionally flatlined my sales to then boosting it up over 12 million in sales. And that's kind of what I want to show you today. This is going to be high level snippets here and there. I'm going to try to give you as much information, but I just want you to understand that if you are a new realtor, this can be a niche for you. That's what I want to show you right now. So I'm going to share my screen, but again, I just want you to really get this information that I flatlined my business intentionally and then was able to jumpstart it from just this niche. Here's the statistics. And when I started to kind of see this and really clue in how powerful this niche is, It's not a fun niche. Let me just say that. This is, a hard process. It is the single hardest process and life event that somebody may go through. But 40 to 50% of first marriages end in divorce in the United States. Incredibly sad. But 60 to 70% in the United States end in divorce in their second marriage. That will not happen to me with my new husband, but just so you know, that 60 to 70% in the US end in divorce over their second marriages. But two other statistics that I thought were really incredible. 53% of divorcees own a home in the United States. So now you've got half of the United States getting a divorce in their first marriage, and half of those people have a home to sell. And then here's what's really interesting, because this has already happened in 1 year. So this is the power of helping somebody in their hardest transaction or time period in life. And then they move on. And 55% of divorced couples remarry, and 25% of those in 3 years. I'm on my next transaction of somebody that got divorced last year and is now engaged already. I don't recommend that, but is engaged already and now going to be purchasing and selling their home. So it can all happen very, very fast. And then I also want to point out that this is multiple transactions. I've had one client where I sold an investment property and their primary residence. I had another client that actually is the one pending right now. One of the ones pending where I sold their house the beginning of the year, and now she's purchasing. So it can, and then her husband is actually purchasing the beginning of next year because he rented for a year. So that can all happen very, very quickly. And the compound interest of this niche and how it expands quickly is life-changing, I feel like, in the course of your own business. And then here's a statistic that is another interesting thing. There's 2 time periods in a calendar year where divorce happens or petitions happen the most. One is in January. If you think about it, people got through the holidays, they're writing their goals and New Year's resolutions, and unfortunately, one of them may be to not stay in their relationship. So that is January is the highest petition. And then the second one is August. Usually, if you have kids, maybe you want to, school is starting, you want to kind of start that new year of the school year separated. You do that in the summer. So those are the 2 largest filings. And that's important to know when you're talking to the divorce professionals and you're creating that team around you of who to talk to. So that's the statistics. I'm going to just go through here real quick. And this is, another thing I want you to understand is the principles that I'm going to show you of how I went so deep in this niche can happen in any niche. And we're going to talk about this, but I created a sales funnel, and I also created a particular language and how I speak to these people that's very, very different than my past clients. You cannot speak to somebody going through one of the largest life challenges the same way you would as a traditional buyer and seller that it's all happy of buying their home and they're excited. These are people that don't want to move. They are feeling, their marriage is ending, but they don't necessarily want to be stripped out of their home. So you can't all of a sudden pop them onto a newsletter that you would have for the rest of your clients and cheers about the market or how you can help them buy and sell a house. You cannot speak to those people that way. And so these are some principles, the communication and speaking the same language, as well as creating a sales funnel that you would want to do with any niche. And I've identified 5 recession-proof niches. These I truly think will carry you through any market, any type of market that's happening with the real estate market or anything else, COVID, all these random things that can happen. These 5 niches are truly recession-proof. You can still have traditional regular buyer and seller transactions, but these are ones that will constantly, if you're slow in one area, interest rates are high right now, most people are selling. Well, guess what? All my past client lists, now that I'm re-engaging with them again, they're not moving. So if I did not have this niche, every deal that I've told you about, the 12.3 million in sales, 1.5 pending, 8 million in upcoming listings, that is all from the divorce niche. Actually, I had one referral in that entire thing, and that was a mobile home, which I actually haven't sold a mobile home in years and years, especially in San Diego. But it was a referral from a past client. So that is the only non-divorce item or client that I had in this whole last year. So everyone else isn't moving. So this recession-proof niches are really important. So a few that I identified are debt. Obviously, that's going to force somebody to move. Departure, a job relocation, that's going to force somebody to move. Of course, divorce niche that we're talking about today. Delivery, it's kind of a hard one to crack into, but really, if you are a woman and you have a new baby, joining all those mommy and me workouts, really going deep into being in the school system, that is a transitional stage where people have more babies and need to have more space. And then death. And that's a reality too. So senior living, people in that transition into the next phase in their life. Those 5 are the only times in the real estate business that people are forced to buy or sell. They don't really have a decision of sitting back and just seeing, if they want to stay. Those are usually, they are forced to sell to go into that next transition of life. So finding your niche is important. I'm not going to go through the certifications. There are certifications that are around this. I have one, which is Real Estate Collaborative Specialist / Divorce. And while that was great, I did all of this prior to that. So I just got this certification this year. The only thing it's really done for me is giving me, a little certification for the attorneys that I deal with. I already knew them and we're getting the leads prior. So for me, I feel like I didn't need it. If you're one of those that feel like you need something like that, I don't know if I learned anything different, but they are out there. There's only 2 of them. Well, let me just go back. Let me just show you. So RCSD designation, it's much cheaper than the CDRE certification. That's very, very expensive. It's about, I think it's $5,000 to actually get certified, and it's about $1,200 a month to join that network. So it's very expensive, but they are out there. So here's what I'm going to teach you now. And this is any of those niches again. So when you're building a niche, you want to put you in the center and you want to build your dream team around. And that is how it makes us so valuable for these people. They want to come in, they're broken. I'm going to talk specifically about the divorce client. They are broken, they're emotionally frazzled, they are not there. They are actually, obviously I'm not saying that they're not intelligent people. They're very intelligent people. But when you're going through something like that, you all of a sudden cannot make decisions for yourself. And I have had so many conversations, especially woman to woman with some of these divorce clients, that they say to me, like flat out, Jen, I am so sorry. You must think I am crazy. I am scattered. I can't make a decision. I swear to you, I'm a normal, intelligent person. They even themselves know that they're not all there. So your job is to help move them through A to Z in a very empathetic, loving way. But you have to build that dream team around. If you're just coming at them on one angle, which is, hey, I want to sell your home and sorry you're going through a divorce, but I'd like to be that realtor to help you, you'll flatline and it will not work. If you go into a divorce professional and you say, hey, here's all my stats, blah, 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 these attorneys do not care. Attorneys are special snowflakes. I love that term. I've been using that since I've been teaching this, but it is absolutely true. And I actually tell that to my attorneys now that I know pretty well. And they agree. They are special snowflakes. So they are the top dog. They don't care what you've done. All they want to know is what you can do for them to take basically hours off of their caseloads. So how can you help them? What can you provide as far as statistics and information that will help their client, but also reduce the amount of time that they have to work for this person in order to get XYZ evaluation of their home? So having that group and then speaking that same language is really important, whether you're dealing with the divorce professional or the divorcee. So here's some people that you can build on your team. There's mortgage lenders that are specific to divorce. That's one thing I actually did not know. As many years I was in the business, I did not know that this is also a certification for lenders, because what happens is they're dealing with buyout situations all the time. You would think it's the same, but they're very, they know about divorce assumptions, and there's a lot that goes along on that side. So finding a lender that is specific in divorce is really important. And once you are paired with him, the referrals just ping back and forth. And so that's a really good one. So mediator, CPA, CDFA, family law attorney, which is a divorce attorney, and divorce coach. I'm going to give you a tip on mediator versus divorce attorney. I coach and see a lot of realtors wanting to go for the attorney. This is the toxic side of divorce. So one of the things that I did getting back in is I wanted to be, like I said, intentional about how many deals I was doing per year too. I actually didn't want to get back into the business and just do 50 deals a year. That really wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to do enough. I have multiple streams of income. I wanted to do enough where I could, service this really well and get excited about helping people, but do it in a way that I was not dealing with people that were going to drain my energy. And when you're dealing with divorce attorneys, that's obviously, you think about it, more high conflict divorces. And that is where it's very different. So the judge could actually put you as, add you to title on the house because the two people cannot decide. That one doesn't want to sell, the other one wants the money. They don't know what realtor they're going to use. So usually an attorney will just give the judge 3 different realtors, and you will actually go on title and be the decision maker. Well, guess what happens in that situation? They hate you. And I've built my entire relationship or business by relationships. I'm a relationship building realtor. So for me, the last thing I wanted to do is to have to go to court for one thing, and to be in a courtroom and then also have people hate me throughout the transaction. And then guess what? Do you think you're ever going to get a second deal from these people? No, they're never going to refer you. They don't want anything, from you. Your connection and your lead is actually the attorney. It's not the people. So it takes this very specific type of realtor that wants that. Now, if you want that niche, it is underserved. So it's a great niche to do. I just personally did not want to go into the high conflict. So I've turned a lot of that down. The mediator side is where I concentrated the most. So that is mostly people are amicable. Obviously, as I mentioned, they still are emotionally not there. There's a lot of things, even if it's amicable, that goes into play. But I get a lot of leads from mediators. They are nice people. Those are the people that I'm working with on the back end too. So that's kind of where I concentrated most of my time. Then you have CPAs. CDFAs are certified divorce financial analysts. They're specific to divorce. So one thing I did not know, so I give a lot of referrals for my CDFA from my clients because they don't know. They think by going to their financial advisor, that's going to be enough for them. And it's actually not. They're not the same. So they will miss things that happen in a divorce unless it's a CDFA. Hold on real quick. I've got some messages. Oh, thanks guys. I'll keep kind of checking some of the messages too as I go. So that's it. You want to build your dream team, and you really want to have these people in place too before you start going deep into this niche. All right. So, and there's some other people too. So what I'm going to show you now is really, I think, the secret sauce. So I really think I cracked the code, and I don't want to, I don't mean that in an egotistical manner, but I've taught enough realtors now across the country that have been in this space, but haven't been able to turn it on, if you will, like I have in the last year, and received the amount of volume. And then this is the first time too, where I can see my projected pipeline for like a whole year. And I'm going to show you how to do this, but I know that I may not get anything for 6 months from this one client because Maybe they just told their partner that they want a divorce. I know what phase they're in the divorce, and I know how long it takes. And we don't really, I mean, sure, we know when somebody says, like, I want to buy in 3 to 6 months, that is, projection. But because I've actually connected so much value to them at the very beginning, these people actually feel indebted to me. And we talk about that a lot in real estate, like, how can you create value? But this is so different. And I feel like because I'm speaking their language and I've been through it myself, they really do feel like they're indebted to me. There's a connection there that I think if they even went, 6 months down the road and decided to go to 2 realtors, if we say, okay, go see 3 realtors and see if you want to list their home, I truly believe that they're going to come back to me because of the value that I've given them. So that's what I'm going to show you now. But my secret sauce is I'm connecting to 2 people. I'm connecting to the end user, which is what I call the divorce client, and I'm also connecting to the divorce professional. And another tip of where I think realtors go wrong is they only want that divorce professional. They don't really think about the fact that there's so many people in different stages. And let me tell you, a pro tip is they are all on Facebook. So if you go into any Facebook group, a men's group, or, obviously I'm a woman, so I'm going to go into a lot of woman Facebook groups. Every single day, every single week, there is one post about, hey ladies, I'm thinking about going through a divorce, or my husband, just said he wants a divorce. It is every single week. And then all I'm doing is I have a little, snippet that I do offering free value and free information, and they're instantly into my world. And so I get pretty much 50-50 as far as leads coming from the divorce client along with the divorce professional. So don't just go to the divorce professional and think that that's your, person that you want to attack. You can actually do this from the divorce client and never even go into the professional side if that makes you nervous. Because what what a lot of realtors say to me is that they don't know how to go to a divorce professional. It's overwhelming to just look up a ton of mediators in your community and start sending them information or asking to take them out for coffee. That is all a little overwhelming. So I really think if you can start with the divorce client first and then know what to say and how to speak to them, that will eventually come. So what happens is when you start working with the divorce client and you actually help them and you help them sell their home or buy, you are automatically connected with either their mediator or divorce attorney. So I've met a lot of new mediators through dealing with the end user, which is the divorce client. So, all right. This is a timeline that just shows you how you can kind of track it in your system. So what happens, and this is why you have to know too, again, I started October of 2022. I kind of sat back, like I said, for a little trying to figure this all out, but my first closing wasn't until July of 2023. So that's quite a few months. And one of the reasons is because there's a timeline of divorce. And so usually what happens is the end user, so that divorce client, they come to me in the exploratory period. So those are the Facebook groups. That's like, now I'm kind of, I don't know if I like it that I'm kind of getting this name of, the queen of the divorce niche here, but my name is getting out. So if anyone is thinking about going to divorce, they may say, call, Jennifer Chaney. So that's usually in the exploratory period when I'm dealing with the divorce clients. When I'm dealing with the actual divorce professional, it's a quicker period because it's usually in their discovery period. So they've filed, for divorce. They're scheduling it, the schedule order of divorce, and the divorce decree is starting. And the discovery period is the financial side of it. So that's when they're both disclosing all of their financial side, and they need an evaluation for their home. And that's where the divorce professional connects me. And it is the best referral because it is an email with the actual mediator plus me, plus the clients. And she says, Jen, these people live at X, Y, and Z, what do we always say? 1, 2, 3 Banana Street. And these people are, she tells me all about them. They are either doing a buyout, they need to sell, they're going, their divorce is final in 4 months, so they have to sell before that. I get more information that she puts right in the email, and then it's a very easy lead for me. So that usually happens in the discovery period, which usually means they only have about 3 to 6 months before their dissolution or their final divorce is closed. So those are kind of the periods. So this is a little bit longer lead, but this is what allows me to really kind of project out in my oh my gosh, in my CRM, not CMA, in my CRM, where these people are in the phases. All right, so now I'm not going to go through all this. I'm going to go through creating a sales funnel because I feel like this is, Stacey, how much time do we have?
We have another 20 minutes.
Okay, cool. So I feel like this is like the meat and potato of a lot of the overarching process of creating a niche. And you really have to understand we are not just realtors anymore. I think we all are finally getting that, but we are marketers, we are, all this stuff. But if you can tap into how to create a sales funnel to get leads yourself and to have that, come in, and you've created that value and you've created those funnels, you will automate your business. It will completely change your business. And I really think we all need to start doing, thinking this way. And honestly, when I flatlined my business, I touched on this earlier, but I created an investment course on how to invest in real estate. And I took tons and tons of courses. I probably spent 20 grand worth of courses of online courses of teaching me how to create a course, how to create an investment course. And by doing that, even though I had flatlined my real estate business, when I got back in, I actually saw everything completely different because I didn't know what a sales funnel was before I decided to do it. I didn't use this type of terminology and I didn't use this way of thinking in my real estate business just a few years prior. So I really think this is where we're all headed if you haven't heard of this yet. But here's what it is. So it's basically a funnel and the top is your platform. So you need to decide where your niche is and where you're actually getting the info or getting the people from. It could be social media, it could be word of mouth, it could be the Facebook groups that I mentioned. All you're doing is going in, you're posting each day, you're getting in all these Facebook groups. Anytime you see somebody, you can search Facebook groups, divorce, and you can go back however many years that you want. Obviously, they've probably been through divorce. So I would go back, just look at the last 6 months of people as far as comments, but have something that gives them free information and value and brings them into your world. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this. Mine is a webinar. I host a monthly free webinar with this network that I'm in. If you want any information on the network, they do have it is national, but it's not in every place. It's like mostly like big cities. But they're just a great network. So if you're interested in a lead source like that, let me know and I'm happy to pass along their information. But anyway, so we host a once a month webinar with all the divorce professionals and we have different topics and then those people get into our world and then it goes down from there. So you do need a lead magnet. The lead magnet is the hook. So the platform is how you're going to get them. The lead magnet is the hook. Then you're going to nurture them with an email sequence, and then it leads to sales. And so this is my particular divorce sales funnel. I have the Divorce Hub, which is my network. We do monthly free webinars, so that's a little bit lower. They're getting into my world with all the experts. And then it goes into a QR code lead magnet that I'm going to show you of what I've created. And then it goes into nurturing content. I can choose to actually give them more value. This is what I'm toying with now of actually giving them like $10 for an A to Z guide of divorce or charging for different stages, because there are a lot of people that will come in and obviously like any lead, not everyone's going to spit out in a sales. So can I capture them at different levels and, have it monetized? That's kind of what I'm exploring now. And then they're either going to buy, sell, invest, or I'm going to refer them. I've had people move out of state too. So you can always get that referral. So that's my particular sales funnel. So what you need to do is you need to decide on the platform how you're going to focus on this niche or any niche. Decide on where you go deep. And a pro tip is one platform, one lead magnet for 1 year. We as realtors are squirrels, and I am the first one to admit that I am one. But the more I get clear, like what y'all say, you know, anytime we take, you know, different mindset classes or things like that, anytime they always say this, I just have never really listened throughout the years, but anytime you get really, really clear on what you're talking about and you decide on that platform and then you go deep, the more I do that, the more I focus on the niche, the more things are just coming to me and it's flowing. So one platform, I decided to go deep on one network for 1 year. I created a lead magnet. I created a 34-page divorce dilemma guide, which is the number one question I always get is, should I buy out my ex or sell? And so that gives them all that information. And then they go into a nurture sequence, and then I win the business. And this is just a framework for, I think, the perfect webinar. These are all different webinars that we've done. You can take a screenshot of this if you want, but we do top 10 mistakes through divorce, gray and silver divorce, which is on the rise. 48% of people now over 50 are getting divorced. That's considered that gray or silver divorce. ABC's of divorce, the divorce journey. So even if you don't pay into a network, if you've got different professionals together and you just posted on all these Facebook groups a free webinar that you could have with these professionals and you directed them on potential topics, you will see people come out of the woodworks, because this is a truly underserved niche. They do not have access to information. I don't think people realize that in the divorce niche. This group that I'm in, I wish I had in my divorce. I didn't even know it existed. So I know, and just 5 years ago of when I was going through my divorce, I know there was nothing like this. There's one thing called Second Saturday, and that's in a lot of different areas nationally. You pay in and you go sit there for, I don't know, 6 hours and you learn about divorce. But I didn't even know that at that point. So there's really not a lot of free information out there. So if you can create this hub, this family office and this family office team, and you become that divorce realtor and start educating, you could post it on Facebook and you could have people come in and meet you, you know, at a restaurant. I will say a lot of people going through this space are nervous. They're nervous of seeing their ex. They're nervous of, you know, running into somebody that, you know, they are like, you know, anyway, they're just very nervous. So a webinar, I feel like, is best. We say it's anonymous. They come on, we're the only ones that see their name, but nobody else does. So that's it. But this is the flow of the webinar. We do it for an hour and a half. So we do an hour of the webinar and we take a half an hour of questions. And let me tell you, it could probably go for 2 hours after that. Because we get a lot of questions. We have 6 professionals that are there and we kind of speak on our topics for about 10 minutes, take those questions anonymously live. And then I actually always put up a QR code for myself. So not the other professionals. I'm saying in my 10-minute speech, here's my QR code, here's how I can help you further. And then I get people booking calls with me every single week. All right, so here is my particular lead magnet, and it is called the Divorce Dilemma Guide. And another pro tip, use ChatGPT. I directed ChatGPT to all the mistakes that I had in my divorce, all the stuff that I didn't know or wanted to know. I literally just directed it and it spit out pretty much all of these chapters, and then I tweaked it. So ChatGPT is absolutely your friend in creating this. I think if I did this myself, it would probably be a 5-page guide, and it ended up being a 34-page guide. So it looks very impressive. And I have so many people that say all the time that, thank you so much, I had no idea. So it just goes, I actually tell them to do all their expenses themselves. So Let me actually back up here for a second. Okay. So most of the realtors that I teach and coach that are not doing this niche well, I kind of referenced this before. They're speaking like a realtor. And what you have to know is these people do not want to sell. So your job in this niche is to actually help them keep the home. You are not talking about selling. You are saying, pretty much, especially in this type of market with 7% interest rates where they're locked in, at 2.9. But guess what happened in the last 3 or 4 years? The spread, so the equalization on their equity is too great for them to buy out at 7% interest rate. So most of the people I know have over 500,000 equity in their home here in San Diego. And so for them to equalize that, which is half of it, I live in a 50-50 state, for them to equalize that and then refinance to get their husband or wife off the loan, it's almost impossible. They are forced to sell. I know that, but they don't know that yet. They haven't made that decision yet. Their first, especially a woman, their first go-to is, I want to keep the house. Our homes kind of, if you put your mindset in the space of a divorced client, they're obviously you've got memories, but their identity is part of the home. I will say, in my own divorce, I wanted to leave my ex-husband for 10 years. What I had to disconnect with the most was my home. I still had dreams, a year or 2 years after leaving about my home. It's crazy how much, thought goes into just our home. But that was, at that time, one of, it was like my dream home at that time. It's not anymore. I've thankfully detached, but that was my identity. And so that's a lot of these people. So they don't want to move. So you are helping them figure out that they either can buy out or they can't. So you're not talking to them about selling. You are only saying, hey, that's why I'm a divorce specialist. You can actually say divorce specialist without having a certification. You can say divorce expert. You can say those things if you do feel like that's warranted, but you can go in there and say, hey, listen, how I'm different as a realtor is I actually want to help you try to figure out if you can keep the home. I'm a strategist. I'm a real estate strategist. So I don't just come in and say, well, I got to list your home. It's worth, X, Y, and Z. And now you got to sell. I don't say that. I'm giving you strategies on actually how to keep the home. And, a lot of times too, because my background in investing, I say, can you Airbnb some of it? Can you get, a tenant in here? Is there anything that you can do? Can you put an ADU on your property to provide, more income? Is there something you can do after refinance in order to keep the home? Can somebody go on title with you, a parent or, somebody else? So I actually am giving them all these strategies of keeping the home. But this section right here, the expense tracker, when I'm just giving this freely as information to them and they go through this and they realize themselves, holy crow, there's no way. I didn't even know that all this existed. A lot of times you're dealing with people that have never been A, the primary breadwinner, but B, they've never been in control of the money. And so, I'm not saying that it's always women, but a lot of times it's always women that, or whether they were stay-at-home moms or whichever, they have not known, all the ins and outs of cash flow in their home. So because they want to keep the home, they just think, okay, well, I'm going to get child support. I'm going to get spousal support. I'm going to be able to do that. Well, there's a lot of things that go into play that you don't even realize until you go through that process. And the biggest thing that you want to do as a realtor strategist is educate them. Because another thing that they don't think about sometimes is capital gains. And we all know capital gains, when you're married, you get a $500,000 capital gain exemption. So if they sell, they get 500,000 capital gain exemption. If they don't sell, that gets whittled down to, and they divorce. If that person that stayed in the home realizes a year later, holy crap, I actually can't afford this home, and then they go to sell, they only get a $250,000 capital gain exemption. That right there has actually won me 2 or 3 different listings that would not have happened because the woman thought, I am going to stay in this home. And I said, okay, let's go through, how we can do that. I want to go through all your finances. Let's, figure out I just give them this information. I'm not like sitting, literally sitting there writing it all in, but I tell them like, go through this process and then let's strategize after. You call me after and we're going to go through, this, and we're going to figure out if you can actually afford that home. And so once we start to do that, and then they speak with a lender on the refinancing side too. So that lender, specific realtor or a specific divorce specialist lender is important. So you're going back and forth tag teaming. They realize they can't do it. Well, guess what? Once we actually go into the process of, I know you want to keep it and try to figure this out, but if you don't sell it now before your divorce is final, then you're going to be out another 50 grand in whatever it is in capital gains exemptions, because it limits from the 500 to 250. So a lot of realtors would never even say that. They would never help them through that strategy. So this is your job in this niche, is to be a specialist and understand how to move them from A to Z, let them make their own decision on keeping the home or selling, and then giving them all that little bits of information along the way. If they're over 55, here in California, we have Prop 19, so somebody can keep that tax basis, that low tax basis if they sell. A lot of people don't put that into their marital spousal agreement, so it's not even thought of. That's another strategy that I tell them so that it moves them through selling the home and buying, and then claiming that Prop 19 tax base so that they're the first ones to go and get that lower tax base. So all those strategies go into play in this niche. So that's the divorce dilemma guide. Let me see if there's, hold on. I'm trying to open up this bar and it went so small. Okay. All right, so let me just do one more thing. I'm going to give you one more bits of information. This is honestly a 2-hour masterclass when I go through it. So it's a quick one, but let me give you this overall. So I'm going to give you 2 other points. So how my brain works is I need to see everything visually first. I need to, before I do anything, I need to sit down on paper. I need to figure out where that lead's coming from, what I'm saying to them, what I'm going to give them as far as lead magnet. And then I need to figure out what I need to do. And sometimes I will say in the past, it is kind of screwed me a little bit because I can overthink information and then I don't end up doing it. But with this particular funnel, I needed to really figure out how I'm talking to them and the information, because again, where I see most realtors go wrong in this niche is they're going after the divorce professional only. That's number one. And then whether it's the divorce professional lead or the end user lead, which ends up being that divorce professional lead, when it's coming to them, all of a sudden they start talking real estate, I'm going to, sell your home. So I knew, as I mentioned, I had to speak a different language to them. So I needed to like lay it out in paper to actually be able to know how I'm talking to them and how that, kind of works. So Vesta Divorce is my network, or there's these are the different ways that they come into my funnel. They come in from the webinars, they come in from the professional, an email list if they pop on from my website, and then any referrals. And I use KV Core. So I'm continually building out KV Core. Andrew, who is on this call, if you guys have taken his class, it's phenomenal. And I'm continually getting more and more into KV Core and automating it. But we have that free at EXP. So if you're not utilizing that, I highly suggest it because it's really powerful. But with KV Core, I have 4 different ways. They can just download the divorce dilemma guide. So I have a whole funnel for that. So that's specifically the guide. They could come in from the webinar, which is that monthly webinar. They could come in from a divorce professional, or they could come in from a referral. And then it tells me where that goes. And so really all I needed to do, once I laid this all out, this is really what the content I needed to create ahead of time. It looks like really overwhelming, and maybe that's how my brain is, a little bit overwhelming, but really it just boiled down to this. And I needed a divorce newsletter that was different than a market newsletter. I was not going to pop these people into, hey, the market's doing this. This is the home I just sold. Here's what's happening. Blah, blah, blah. I was not going to do that. I was not going to talk about that. I was going to talk about how they can keep the home. Hey, have you thought about capital gains? All that little stuff that is actually in the divorce dilemma guide, I was going to sprinkle to them in the divorce newsletter twice a month, so that they were still hearing from me. I wasn't overwhelming. And it was just information that was informative, that was specific to where they were. And it was around, real estate, but it was more in line with how can you keep the home. So that's the divorce newsletter twice a month. I have a buyout campaign. So the divorce professional gives me a lot of leads. I'm about 50-50 right now. 50% want to buy out and 50% want to sell. But those buyouts will eventually be sellers, or you're giving them so much value and information, they will eventually do something else, too. So they're going to refer you. You're gonna be in their world because you've actually helped them with an evaluation for their financial dissolution, which is huge. And I'm going to these people's homes. So I'm actually still, you kind of have to figure out for you. I only have I have two mediators, but one sends me way more than the other one. If I wanted to turn this on and get 4 or 5 more, I could increase my volume, but then I'm doing more buyouts, which is for free. Can you charge for those? I've toyed with that. I just didn't feel good about it, so I stopped doing it. But you can charge for buyouts. But just know that you're going to somebody's home for an actual listing presentation, and you're not going to get it because they are going to buy out. So there's a particular campaign that I need for those people. And then there's the sell campaign. How can you actually sell your home being divorced? That's a whole different transaction. You don't want to have somebody move out and half of the stuff is gone. You actually want to keep both clothes in the closet, as far as man and woman, or whatever that is. You want to be able to do that because that will show from a buyer's perceived value that they need to sell and the price goes down. So you're kind of trickling in information for the sell campaign if they've not chosen you yet. And then I have CMA request emails, weekly market reports. That's just the automation from KV Core, just so that it can show them what's happening in their neighborhood. So that's completely hands off. And then the monthly reports are completely hands off. And then I just did all the template emails for phone consultations. So it's really not that intense. Okay. Sorry, there were some other comments. It's not that intense of what you need. So that's pretty much it. One thing I will show you that I do is here is my CMA report. So this I actually feel like shows so much value. So this is if I'm going out to them and having the appointment or doing a virtual CMA. If somebody's really far down the line, like they're 9 to 10 months and they just want an evaluation from me, I'm only going to give them a very quick virtual evaluation. But I have a whole report that I give them, and then I use the KV Core. So this presentation is what I give them, and we all have access to that in KV Core. It's fabulous. This is exactly what I do. And then I give them a Loom video of me, the overview of the presentation. So those two things really separate me. So already at the very beginning, if they're doing a buyout or not, they have received really high quality professionalism from me. And it's obviously proving into them remaining as my client. I think I'm done. There's a lot more that I could say. But I think I'll open it up now because I know that I just rambled for a lot of minutes.
No, it was really great. And just, you've shown that creating a niche isn't just picking one and helping a couple clients. Like, you've gone really deep into a certification and what should I offer and how is this different than just another agent that's maybe helped someone, in this type of situation. So I think it's really awesome. quick tell everybody how they can get a hold of you if they want to join your next masterclass, they want to talk about partnering, they want to talk about, knowing more.
So I was doing a 2-hour masterclass every month. I'm kind of transitioning into chopping those up into smaller videos. So that is divorcenichemastery.com. So you can go to divorcenichemastery.com and that's there. Or Jennifer Chaney, it's just Jennifer at jenniferchaneyhomes.com. I'll kind of put it in the network too, and feel free to email me. Call me obviously too, but yeah, I mean, hopefully I really feel like this niche is undervalued all over. Who knows? Part of me thinks that I'm in Southern California and maybe the divorce rates are higher here sometimes, I don't know. But I do think it's happening across the country and I do feel like it's very underserved. So if you can come at it from a very compassionate, empathetic way and speak their language, I think we as realtors can do and give a lot of value.
Yeah. And that's such a good point. Like you're offering a service that encompasses everything they're going through or part of it, not just, I want to sell your home. You're able to give them information, walk them through these steps, because they probably do have a ton of questions that they don't even know who to ask. So also kind of creating this family office is amazing.